Greetings and welcome to COMM 110 Fundamentals of Public Speaking for Spring Semester 2013. My name is Chris Meisner and I'm going to be your instructor this semester for COMM 110 Public Speaking. And this is an introductory video for this first week of class. And I'll be doing one of these introductory videos most weeks during the course of the semester. And I'll be doing a variety of things in these introductory videos. So let me begin by telling you what I'm going to be talking about in this very first intro video. I'm going to begin by highlighting a few of the things on our course syllabus. I'll continue then by highlighting a few of the things on the recording guidelines, the guidelines for recording and submitting speeches. I'll say a few words about the coursework that you're going to need to do for this first week of class. And then finally, at the very end of this video, I will tell you a little bit more about myself and my background as your instructor. So I want to begin by telling you a little bit about some of the details or highlight some of the details on our course syllabus. Now, the first two sections of this video on the course syllabus and the guidelines for recording and submitting speeches are both talking about the highlights of particular documents that you should be taking a look at this first week of class. And so one of the things you might want to do before proceeding with watching the rest of this video is actually downloading and maybe printing out those two documents so that you can follow along sort of, or look at them as you're listening to what I have to say about these two documents. The other thing you might do is to watch this video, read over the syllabus and the recording guidelines, and then watch the first part of this video again so that you get these highlights having read the syllabus and the recording guidelines. So to begin with, some highlights in our course syllabus. Now, I'm not going to go through every section of the syllabus in detail in this video because there's not a lot of point to doing that. You should read through the syllabus in great detail, though, and make sure that you understand everything that is in that syllabus. A course syllabus, as you are likely aware, is sort of the contract or the covenant for a course. It is where I have laid out what the coursework is going to entail, what the point distribution for the course is going to be, and what the course policies are going to be. And so it's something that I am bound to just as much as you are bound to as students. So you really should read it closely and throughout the semester refer back to it as necessary for clarification on course policies or other things related to the course. Of course, at any time throughout the semester, you're welcome to get in touch with me, and that's the first element of the syllabus that I want to highlight. At the top of the first page of the syllabus is my contact information, my telephone number, my email address, and I just want to encourage everybody to get in touch with me if you have questions, if you have comments or concerns about any aspect of the class, or if you just would like to visit with me about some aspect of the course. As I say in the syllabus there, in regards to contact info, it's very important that you feel comfortable doing that in an online class such as this one is, because we do not have the normal opportunity to interact with one another as, two people standing in the same room and interacting with each other in the way that people normally interact when they're in the presence of one another. And so that means that it's vitally important that you are comfortable contacting me by phone or by email, and that you feel comfortable doing that, and I encourage you to do that. So get in touch with me, please, if you have something about the course that you would like to discuss. There are a few different elements of course materials that you are going to need to have, and perhaps already have, in regards to the work you're going to need to complete for this class. Now, the first of these, as it would be in an on-campus section of this class, is our course textbook. If you don't already have the course textbook, or don't already have it on the way, in terms of already having ordered it, you're going to want to do that right away, today, or right away after watching this, because right away at the beginning of week 2, you're going to have the first couple of chapters from our textbook that will be part of next week's coursework. We don't have any reading out of the textbook this week during the first week of class. So if you don't actually have the textbook in hand at the moment, you'll be fine, but you'll need it by the beginning day or two of next week, by next Monday or Tuesday. The name of that textbook is Public Speaking, Concepts and Skills for a Diverse Society, by Clella Jaffe is the name of the author of the textbook. And it is, well, I was going to say what I thought off the top of my head the edition number is, but I don't want to get it wrong. It's in the syllabus, so make sure that you're getting the right edition of the textbook. That's very important. And I'll have some more things to say about the textbook next week when we actually begin to read it. So that's the first element, is our textbook. We will have chapters almost every week, especially during this first half of the semester. Most weeks there'll be 2 chapters to read out of the textbook, because the first half of the semester is a little heavier, or a lot heavier, in terms of reading chapters from the text, learning new terms and concepts, and so forth. And then in the second half of the semester, once we get a little heavier into doing the major speeches that you're going to be doing, there's comparatively less textbook reading. The second element of the course materials is the eCollege website, which, if you are watching this video, that means that you have successfully logged into and navigated in eCollege in order to get to this video. And so you're in pretty good shape there. And of course, as you're probably aware, eCollege is where everything related to the class is going to be distributed, and the information as to what the assignments are is going to be disseminated, and everything that you're going to submit as coursework, as the classwork that you're going to be doing, will be submitted. You'll take the quizzes on a weekly basis, as well as the final exam at the end of the semester on eCollege. We'll do discussion forums most weeks here on eCollege, and you'll download any assignment guidelines and so forth that you need here from eCollege as well as submitting your video files of your speeches. You will submit and upload here on eCollege. And the recording guidelines that I'll talk about in a moment or two give some detail about how you're going to go about uploading those speeches. So the eCollege interface on our course website is the second of the 3 major components of what you're going to need to complete this course. The third and final component of what you're going to need is a webcam or video camera of some kind. Now, I purposefully leave it, and you'll see this in the recording guidelines as well, I purposefully leave that kind of vague because just about everybody probably has a slightly different setup in terms of the camera that they're using, in terms of the software that they're using to record the videos. and so forth. So anything that you've got in terms of a webcam should work just fine. If you have a computer with a built-in webcam, such as a laptop, which is what I'm recording this on right now, that will work fine. If you have a separate webcam that is independent of the computer, that should work fine. You can, if you have it, and this is what works best for you, you can use a camcorder, traditional camcorder type of video camera as well. If you use a camcorder, it's going to introduce an extra step of getting the video file from the camcorder onto the computer to upload it, whereas if you're using a webcam, the recording goes directly onto your computer. So whatever the exact equipment in terms of hardware and software that you're going to use will depend on what you have available to you, but you are going to need to have that video recording equipment available to you throughout the entire semester, because you'll be doing video recording of speeches not every week, but about every other week, including right now during this first week, right up to the second to last week of the semester. So, and then of course, implied in there is that you're going to need to, with the webcam and with the e-college, is that you're going to need to have internet access as well. And you really probably need to have internet access at your home, that you have constant, daily, regular access to. It would be very difficult to do this class, at least. It might be possible with some online classes, but it will be very difficult for you to complete this course if you only have intermittent internet access at some place that you're not at all the time, whether that's another person's home or a library or something. So you really do need to have home internet access, high speed, most likely. There are particular technical requirements for taking LRSC online classes that you can see when you log into eCollege before you actually navigate to the particular class. All right, moving on to classwork. In the syllabus, you'll see, I'll just touch upon this briefly, that there's 1,000 points over the course of the semester, divided into two sections, 500 points for assessment and 500 points for participation. And you can see on the syllabus there, look at the syllabus to see what those two sections mean and how they're broken down. But basically, you have three major speeches: an informative speech, a visual aid speech, and a persuasive speech, each of which are worth 100 points. And then a final exam that is worth 100 points. And the four of those make up most of the assessment half of the grade. And then the participation half of the grade is made up mainly of weekly classwork that includes quizzes, discussion postings, and some other minor miscellaneous assignments, most of which are pieces that will build up to the major speeches that you'll be doing. You can look over the course schedule on the syllabus as well. What is on the syllabus is really sort of the overview of the course schedule. It'll tell you, what the topics each week are going to be, what the chapters we're going to be reading out of the textbook each week are going to be, and some of the major due dates for the major speeches and the speaker critiques and so forth. But the most up-to-date information for due dates and assignments will be on eCollege, on the weekly home pages that there will be for each week of the semester. And that's where you'll find the most up-to-date information as far as the class assignments and due dates on a week-to-week basis. Then the last thing that I want to say about the syllabus is that you want to take a very close look as well at the very last page of the syllabus, which is my late coursework policy. Um, in a nutshell, my policy is that I don't accept late coursework. Any late work is going to get a 0. There are exceptions. I will make exceptions, of course, for the traditional reasons why things might be late: illness, death in the family, these sorts of things. But the key there is communication. You have to talk to me uh, prior to the due dates uh, and let me know what's going on. And I'm, usually happy to offer extensions and work with you as long as you're communicating with me. What you can't do is, sort of go AWOL and be missing and not submit any coursework for a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and then get in touch with me after the fact and expect to be able to make that up, because you won't be able to do that if you haven't been communicating with me. You can read about all of the details of that late coursework policy on the last page of the syllabus. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know. A few words then, moving on to the second part of the video here, about recording and submitting speeches. I already said a few words about the software and equipment. I won't say anything more about that here. A couple of notes about the uploading of the speeches. You'll be uploading the speeches, the video files, from your computer to the eCollege website. There are special sections in what's called the doc sharing portion of the website that you'll be uploading your speeches to. The video files that you're going to be uploading are going to be very big in most cases, especially with the major speeches. 200 or 300 megabyte files are not uncommon for these speeches. And so it is going to probably take a very long time for those to upload, possibly an hour or more for these video files to upload. And so be patient. It may look like nothing is happening, but it probably is. Follow the directions there in eCollege for uploading your files. And very importantly, make sure that the file has in fact uploaded after it is finished. It's sort of your responsibility to make sure that the file has uploaded. And you may even want to try and download your file again right after you have uploaded it to make sure that that is working properly as well. In the recording guidelines, there are some other guidelines for the presentation of your speeches. In other words, how should it look? How should you look, and how should the image look in the video files when you are recording your speeches? Follow those closely. You will lose points if you're not following those presentation guidelines properly. They deal with things like the framing of the image, the lighting in the image, and these sorts of things. Basically, in your video files, you should look basically like I look in this video right now. I should be able to see you from about the waist up, so that I'm able to see any gestures that you're doing while you're speaking, because gestures are an important part of the physical delivery of public speaking presentations. So frame your videos about like I am framed in this one right now, and follow the other guidelines for presentation that are listed there as well. One of the things that you're going to have to do for all of the speeches, major and minor, in this course is to have an audience, a live audience of at least 3 adults that you are delivering the speech to. This is not recording webcam video class. This is public speaking class. And so you need to have a live audience that you are delivering the speeches to in this class. And 3 people, I think, is sort of the minimum that can really qualify as an audience. And some people have had problems before rounding up 3 people for audiences, but I just cannot allow fewer than 3. There are many institutions that teach online public speaking classes that require audiences of much larger than 3, 10 or more people. But I think in most instances, an audience of 3 people should be just fine. And a few things that you want to do when you're doing that is set up the space that you are delivering your presentation in. Set it up like a speaking hall, with an audience area and an area that is like a podium area or a front presentation area, even though you most likely are not going to have a podium or a lectern if you're doing it, for instance, in your house. But set it up so that there's a distinct separation between yourself and the audience, and so you are delivering to the audience just like you would be if you were in a classroom or a meeting room or some other space that like those that speaking presentations typically take place in. And then speak to the live audience. Don't deliver the entire speech just to the webcam. Make sure that you are delivering the speech to the live audience that you are have there in the room with you. Now, the webcam you should treat as another audience member, a 4th audience member, if you will, which means that you want to at times play to the webcam and make eye contact with the webcam, just like you do with the other audience members that are actually there in the room with you. I'll have a little bit more to say about these sorts of things in a couple of weeks, or in the coming weeks, as we get into recording and submitting more of the speeches that you'll be doing. And then one more thing related to audiences is that you have to show the audience on camera at both the very beginning, before you've started your speech, and at the very end, after you've finished your speech, in the video file. Because unless you show that audience on camera, I don't have any idea of knowing for sure whether or not you actually did deliver the speech to an audience. So if you have a computer, turn the webcam around so that you can see, so that the camera can see the audience, and then flip it back around so that it's recording you at the very beginning and at the very end, so that I know that that audience was there at the beginning of your speech and that that audience is still there at the very end of your speech. And you'll see this listed in a number of spots in documents as we go along. But if you do not have an audience or do not show an audience on camera in the video file, like I said, I don't have any evidence that you actually delivered the speech to an audience. So if you do not show the audience on camera, I'm not going to grade the speech, and you'll get a 0 on it, because I am unable to confirm that you actually had an audience that you delivered the speech to. All right, moving on to part 3, just a couple of words about the work you're going to do this week. Now, the first part, the first little bit of each of these introductory videos, will talk about and give a brief overview of the work that you're going to be doing in that particular week. And of course, that's listed on the weekly homepage for each week. Each week of the semester, there will be a homepage on eCollege that will sort of lay out what the coursework is for that week. And it's numbered, just a numbered list of what the things are that you need to do for that week. And so you can look at that. This video is the first of those items in this week's coursework, and on the weeks, which will be most weeks, where there is an intro video, not all of them as long as this one's getting to be, but on the weeks where we have an intro video, that intro video will be the first item of coursework, and you should do it first before the other items in the list. So for this week, the additional items are to read over carefully both the syllabus and the recording guidelines that I've been talking about here. Then you're going to need to record and upload a test video. We need to make sure that your particular system that you have, whatever it is working properly as far as making sure that it records the videos and making sure that the videos will upload properly to eCollege. So the details for that test video you can see on this week's homepage. And then finally, the last thing that you'll do this week is a speech of introduction. A little introductory speech. The guidelines you can download from this week's homepage. And there's a few things, specific things that I want you to talk about yourself. And we're going to try right from this very first minor speech we're doing this week to make sure that everybody has got an introduction, a body, and a conclusion in your speeches. And that structure is something that we're going to be looking at in much more detail over the course of the semester. So just follow those guidelines as far as the form and the content of your speeches of introduction. And that's it for this week. Just reading over those couple of key documents and then doing the test video and the speech of introduction. Now you will notice in the weekly home pages that there are specific deadlines for each item of coursework, and that those are always at 11:59 p.m. on a given day. That may seem a little peculiar at first, but I do it that way as others that do online classes do it that way, to avoid any confusion about what 12 a.m. means. Rather than just saying midnight or 12 a.m., there might be some confusion as to whether 12 a.m. is noon or midnight or whatever, and so I say 11:59 p.m. So right before midnight, a minute before midnight on whatever the day is that's listed. And the days are going to vary as to when things are going to be due. Once we get kind of going here in another week or so, there will be a pattern that will emerge as far as when things are due. But look at the list of coursework items on each week's homepage for the exact details as to when things are going to be due. And remember that anything that's late that is not submitted by those deadlines is going to get a 0 unless you have made other arrangements with me prior to the due date. All right, finally, I just want to close and take a minute to tell you a little bit more about myself. My name, again, is Chris Meisner, and I've been teaching COMM 110 Fundamentals of Public Speaking for LRSC for about 3 years now, in both online and on-campus settings. About the past year or so, it's been exclusively online, because I used to live in Devil's Lake for a few years. I don't live in Devil's Lake any longer. I moved to the Fargo area here about a year ago, but I do still teach some online classes for LRSC, including the COMM 110 class that you are now enrolled in. My background in general is in film and media studies. I have my graduate degrees in film and media studies, so I taught both on campus and online for LRSC Intro to Film and Intro to Mass Comm classes as well. I am married to my wife Kim, and I have a 6-year-old son named Jackson who's in 1st grade. And right now, this semester of spring 2013, in addition to teaching this class online, I also work part-time at Prairie Public Television in Fargo, working in their TV programming department, and also part-time as a librarian at the library at Minnesota State University Moorhead. So that's a little bit about me. I will be learning a little bit more about you in the speeches of introduction that you are going to be submitting at the end of this first week of class. And again, and to close, I just want to encourage you to get in touch with me if you have any questions or any comments or concerns about our class, and I look forward to working with you and watching your speeches over the course of this semester.